episode of Poésie et Joie, where I read poems from all over the world. I started this channel, and at first I just read my poems, and then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to monetize this. That way I can share poems from all over the world. I try to get permission from the poets where I can, and you know. My goal, kind of ambitiously, is that this channel be an introduction to world poetry. And one of my favorite sites to use to help with that is the introduction to world poetry in and of itself. It is poetryinternational.com. It first started out as Poetry International Web when I first found it years and years and years ago. Probably like 20 years ago now or more, because I think I've moved 3 or 4 times since I first found it. And um, it does that. It's got poems and poets from all over the world, and you can read it in the language of your choice. I don't know how many languages the website is supported in. One thing that I've noticed they've changed recently is you used to be able to read the original language poem next to its translation, and you can't do that anymore. You have to click through and see them separately, which is kind of sad. But I mean, I guess there's like bandwidth limitations and all that. Now, on this channel, I tend to read the English translations. It's the language I'm most familiar with. It's also the lingua franca of the internet. If you find a poem on this channel that you really enjoy, but you are also able to read its original language, please, by all means, go back and do so. Because if you are at all familiar with poetry, and especially poetry in translation, you will know that poetry in its original language is a work of art. Poetry in translation is also a work of art, but they're quite often not the same thing. They complement each other, and we are deeply grateful to have them both together. Because otherwise there's a lot of poetry that we would not be able to read. But they are very often not the same thing. So, yes. And really the ideal way to do that is to be able to have them, like, the original language and the translated language both on the same page, like, where you can see them side by side and read them together. For me, that's the ideal way to read them, where you can compare them side by side. But you may find that you prefer a different way. To each their own. But that's how I like to do it. Anyway, this channel is rather ambitious in trying to be an introduction to world poetry. I do understand that we will probably never quite exactly achieve that, but like I said, the channel has been here since 2011. There are well over 100 videos on here now. So feel free to go back through and enjoy what's here. Today we're going to be reading a poem by Kawala from France. And we're going to be reading Song of the Huntress, Gatheress. The title drew me in. I haven't read the poem itself already. So it'll be interesting. We'll be discovering this together. Pardon for the snifflies. I don't have a cold. I don't know if it's my autumn allergies or what, but I promise you I don't have a cold, but I do have the sniffles. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, Song of the Huntress, Gatheress. Oh, and by the way, I do try to put the source of the poems in the description box, whether that's anytime in any of these episodes, whether that's a book or whether I've extracted it from a website, as in this case. Some of the early videos, like with this website where they had a different website to begin with, Poetry International Web, and now it's poetryinternational.com. So some of the older videos, the links may no longer work because it may link back to Poetry International Web, for instance, that is now defunct. But I do try to always put some sort of source in the description box, and I don't know if I said this, but I meant to. I do try to get permission from the poets to read the poems where I possibly can. It's not always possible, but where I can possibly reach out to the poets themselves or a living relative, I try to do that. Okay. Anyway, back to the poem. Song of the Huntress Gatheress. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury, heard. All in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. Nowhere is my country today. I've been banished from the one that whose trees have disappeared, far from here and now, cedars, birches, baobabs, beeches, oaks, lindens, cherries, weeping willows, some evening the earth, dry and humid, acidic, alkaline, neutral. All the trees are from now on from my country. We go toward and toward. We don't know what we'll find for ourselves, the days passing in our steps, as the passing forests, plains, mountains, and banks, and the beaches, bare and discovered, to be discovered, at the river's threshold, where a fossilized well, its baleen of stone, its granite organ, leaves us fragile on the feet of its sheer face. Find before the night the vital refuge. Some men and women fire, they insist, and take us back a wood's edge. Then the woods and the hunting blind. From the woods the noises are immense, terrifying, bestial. Beasts and men, women and chimeras, barbarians, possible, possible. The forest, the undergrowth, and this is a word that's hard for me. I know how to say it, but my mouth won't. That's a problem I have with my disability. The chiaroscuro. I'll spell it for you, okay? Because I know my mouth is it does its own thing with some words. Chiaroscuro. Sorry about that, but the diagonal mounting of light and insects, incantations too. What do I know? Fear rises from. What do I know? That's what fear is. In the hunting blind, and those four protect me. We walk, and I, trumpets and songs invisible, we rise. The light falls, and from the inert bodies of my companions, their voices, united over a single chord, are still. Cry and call to me, I rise up, hear them, disappearing. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury, heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. In the air, suspended, walk like I've never ever walked before, feeling the ground that is not any longer beneath my feet. Above the forest given to my eye, dizziness, dizziness of the mountains, of the unspooling plains, and I walk. The stars, I touch them, and the moon, and I walk until morning in the rocky and glistening silence of the stars until I reach where we are getting back to each other. I'm there in a night, arrival, arrived. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. In the freezing air, her breath allows me to see her. The mist and the light born in the east of the sun slit it, uncover it, gaseous and watery, veil, open, fold, and drape. The elsewhere, the nowhere, and the unknown. The mysterious night, where does it come from? Fly off to, powdery, the beaten earth of the path. It moves ahead, clarifies its demand. He asks her, asks me to come find her, come here, where she stays, immobile in movement. Approaches toward me, knowing of me that it's me, her hand on my shoulder and her smile, which comes to find her, to lead her away. The outer wall surpassed the city through, sleeping, its details craggy in the frosty morning air, to the house of who? of the one who my masters, where my old master jaguar awaits her silently. Silently, we in the city walk on toward what she knows, what she doesn't know. Silently we arrive before where it awaits him, where the threshold surpassed, only she goes in. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard. All in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. An alligator woman, a hummingbird man, a spider monkey man, a deer woman, a boa man, a toucan woman sitting at the table stare me down, mute, stare each other down, mute, and with a single movement, together show me the stairs, order me jointly to climb it. Walk after walk, after walk, after walk, after walk, after walk, after walk, after the landing, the door. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard. All in knots and taken away flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. Ajar, through the door frame I am embraced by Master Jaguar's den, his backlit silhouette, his other side, his back, invisible face facing the window. His folded hands low, he watches and listens to the river's grunting, in which his own spin around, his naked jaguarian face. Come in. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. Approaching, the woman I was waiting for arrived. At last there, neither outside nor inside, a bright she stands and hesitates before busts, pedestals, hands, torsos, faces, molded bodies, astrolabes, sextants, octants, compasses, alidades, Jacob's staffs, logs, cephayas, great horned owl, ermine, brown bear, raccoons, snakes, meerkats, stuffed parrots, seashells, stones. I'm not sure if my mouth will say that either. Lepidopterans and arachnids, pins, pestles, bowls, platters, plates, money boxes, gemstones, little coins, pearls, open and closed chests, purses, satchels, spice bags, petals, powders, pigments, herbs gathered, tied, and hung, potted plants, weeds, catnip, perennials, cultivated plants, branches of cherry trees, apple trees, peach trees in blossom, loaded with multicolored, colorless, budding flowers, engraved, smooth, full, empty vases with stagnant water, opaque, opaque, opaque. I'll explain that when I'm done with this. Opaque and translucent bottles with purpurine, violet, reddish, greenish, pea yellow, ochre, brownish, syrupy liquids, potions, inks, paintbrushes, plumes, skulls, bones, eggshells, anatomic boards rolled up, charts, and some unrolled oceans and skies, a sea of discarded papers left on the floor, armor, daggers, swords, sabers, pistols, muskets, fabrics, wools, furs, velvet, silks, cottons, white, plain, colorful, with patterns involving everything that can be found here to advance toward. Toppling middle lips, gravitational at the half center, I stay. She snakes between, tacks wide open eyes dart toward me, soars up. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. We, us, transported the immediacy of we who don't. Our mouths, on our faces, on our necks, and our shoulders, resurgent, recognizant, some memory pertaining to the. there to those, to our bodies, grasping each other. From the weather changing, a cloud, a shower, an eclipse, the night, the day, transporting us, toppling, topple. The wires, the threads, the objects swept into our movement, accompanying immediate nuclear exploding on the ground, us on the ground, wrapping each other with our us. In present pulsatile equitational montages until no more, we no more, until what's we no more, that what's happening gives way to us, that we liquid dismiss ourselves. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness, its fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the day is passing in our footsteps. Happy. So happy. I gush, I flood and flow and flow and flow. I soak the sheets and spread myself out on the floor, indivisible and divided. I flood and flow between the planks to the door, under the door. I slide, I snake, I cascade, cascade, cascade. I bound, jump, walk, walk, walk. Splash from stair to stair. I mingle with the lime and soak the wood. I cascade and launch. I gush there over a skull, over the astrolabe, there over the U of a half unrolled map. I soak the paper, the ink runs. A lake is described cascades. A threshold whose strength is the heart. Its output, its sweetness and fury heard. All in knots and taken away, flags me down. Days passing in our footsteps. I cascade from stair to stair. Cascade, the wax repels me, it splits me. Droplets. Immiscible. A drip, a seep, a gush, a flow, gush, explode, a lake empties out. I am a lake and a fountain, indivisible and divided flow. Flow absorbed by the sheets, the blanket, the cotton I spread out. Puddle at the foot of the stairs. I spread out, shake under the light steps. Hands like a conch gather me and carry me to the lips. I am lapped at, drunk up. Voice of the Huntress, Gatheress joins them then. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. I am in their throats. I am drunk from the source, I am on the grating tongue. I go down along the esophagus, I penetrate stomachs, arteries, veins circulate through blood. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. I bound. Bound, free, gush, bound. I spread out, pedal, wide pedal. I gather together, seep, droplets in the pedal. I flow and am absorbed. I steep, I overflow, I moisten skin and hair. I flood, the walls hold me back. I rise, I gush. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down, the days passing in our footsteps. I crash down, I cascade, I scare. They run from me. I lick feet, hands, furniture, flames, fire. I sleet. I evaporate. I extinguish. Inside me ash dilutes. I float. I condense, seep, fall back into myself. I gush, rise, gush, flow. I jump, fall, absorbed, held back. I irrigate bodies. I slip between fingers. I am drunk. The threshold whose strength is the heart, its output, its sweetness and fury heard, all in knots and taken away, flags me down. The days passing in our steps, mixed with saliva, saliva dilutes. I am spit out. I gush, I'm drunk up, I cover up, I submerge, I fill, I overflow, liquid firework, I gurgle. Collected, I bound into the eye that observes me, I flow from it, I flood, I cover thighs, stomach, sides, breast, throat of my source, I run dry, I ebb, my source falls asleep. Well, That was published in 2017, it said. Or at least it translated in 2017. So it could have been published anytime, really. And I don't know. I've been reading the newest Hunger Games book. What is it? Sunrise on the Reaping. So my mind was like, the first half of the poem, it read so much like what it, in my head. I kept getting images of kids in the Hunger Games, and then the second half being from Appalachia where it floods all the time, and having just gone through Helene like a year ago, all that flooding. Which I'm sure is not what she meant at all, but that's where my mind went. And repetition is like something you can do in poetry, but I thought that it got a little bit too repetitive for me anyway. But it was also a bit experimental because she made new words out of some things. She would take two different words and smash them together into a whole new word. Oh, and where I would stumble sometimes over words I definitely knew. I have cerebral palsy, and that affects muscle development, bone development. It's a brain injury. Okay, what that happens um, shortly before, during, or after birth, up to 5 years after birth, and mine, I think, is a result of lack of oxygen after birth. I was born with a cord around my neck. My doctor was drunk at the time of delivery, and then I was like 6 months. I was born at 6 months. I was like really, really premature, and at the time, babies born that early usually didn't survive. So they put me in an incubator and shoved me off in the corner and just expected me to die. They didn't give me oxygen or anything. And I was there for like 3 days, off in the corner, without like any really medical care or anything. And when my mom was able to get out of bed and come see me, because it didn't go well for her either. And she saw me in the corner. She worked at that hospital in the cafeteria. So when she saw me in the corner, she's like, I know what that means when you put babies in the corner. I know that you're just expecting her to die. Get her out of that corner. And that's when they finally gave me oxygen. But they gave me too much, and that's what messed up my eye. But I lived. I lived. I must have been determined to live, I gotta tell you. But anyway, part of having this condition is that, well, I'm spastic, right? So part of that is that I can't really control my muscles the way I want to. Makes me spastic. And that see, there we go again. That spasticity shows up more in my hands and my feet. I kick and stuff than anywhere else. But it affects every muscle in my body. So, and there are so many muscles involved in speech that it's like the most complicated thing your body can do is form words and speak. And so sometimes I'm trying to say something or I'm trying to read, and I know exactly what I want to say, but it just doesn't come out. The doctor said it's not that the signal going from my brain to my muscle is intact. It's the signal coming back from my muscle to my brain gets flipped around backwards, and so yeah, things get confused and things don't come out. But hey, and it seems like as I get older, I struggle more and more with that showing up more in my speech than I did when I was younger. I have to slow down and be more deliberate in my speech. And I noticed that there's more word whiskers in my speech than there was when I was younger. That wasn't there before. See, I just did it. That wasn't there when I was younger. I didn't have to do that. Sometimes I will completely lose my sentence and just be like, "What was I saying?" For like 15 seconds or more before I can pick it back up. that wasn't as much of an issue when I was younger. It's becoming more and more and more obvious a thing as I get older, and I'm just learning to work with it. You will notice that as you go back and watch the older videos. You will see the differences, probably. How I used to speak faster, I used to speak with more um, jovialness, more expression, and I could follow a thought with more alertness and speak on it in more depth without losing my thought. it's but that it's just part of it, I guess. It's the complications that pile up as I get older. It's not that my condition is getting worse. It's just that it's normal aging on top of already existing conditions, and it's just causing what's already there to show up more. So I hope that you will be patient with me, and I hope that you're still able to enjoy what I'm trying to do on this channel, even though it's affecting my ability to publicly speak, publicly read, and deliver this information the way I want to. Also, that's part of it too. I can't always control my self like that, my sloths and stuff. But anyway, I hope that you're still able to enjoy this channel and these episodes, even though that's becoming more obvious a thing as I get older. I hope you don't allow that to be a barrier. I hope you're still able to enjoy the boys as you are. And please come back for more, because the world of poetry is never ending. And I love to share the boys as you are. Um, yeah. There's just like the poetryinternational.com website is ever growing. I hope this channel will be ever growing as long as I'm here to continue adding to it. Thank you so much for coming here and enjoying the poetry with me. I hope you have a fabulous month until I'm able to post the next episode and on into the future. Good things for everyone, good things for everyone, good things for everyone. And don't it I go hunt you.